Hey guys, Moose here. Welcome back to another episode of Stonehearth in our Ascendancy playthrough. It is February 17th, and it's Friday, so hopefully you guys are done with your work week, or at the very least, soon to be done. If you are employed, if you are not, or you're attending school, hopefully you're done with whatever you have to do for the week, whether that be school or something else entirely. By the way, weekend's coming up, generally a good time. So hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves one way or the other, whatever you may be doing, and we are going to be discussing a pretty old game today. Not really directly, because it's another one that I didn't play. Unfortunately, there's a lot of games that I haven't played, and I think that's true of most people, but this is one that I might actually go back and play at some point, because it seems to be the kind of thing that I would really enjoy. And it's been recommended to me. I remember wanting to play it a while back, and I just didn't do it, so for whatever reason, invaders, right, you guys are fucking up my turrets again, being a real pain in the dick. It's unfortunate. They're getting messed up though, like they're not doing too hot. Let's get our military out here. Kill the healers first. Yep, there goes the wolf. Just healers left. Yeah, nicely done. Alright, so that's going well. We're going to need to dig, which is what I was about to do, because we are running out of stuff. There it is. It's right here. I wish you wouldn't do that. I'm trying to dig. Could you go away? Thank you. Alright, so yeah, the old game that we are going to be talking about is Dark Cloud 2, which came out, was that 2003? Yeah, 2003, the 17th of February, and that makes it 14 years old now, I think. It's 14 years, right? I'm doing the math correctly, 17 minus 3? Yep, 14 years ago. And if you're unfamiliar with it, the way it has been described to me, and from what I saw, it is more or less a kind of town management game. I wouldn't say it's really town building. It kind of is, but not really to the same degree as Stonehearth or something like that. It's a little bit more, or it's a little bit less freeform, I believe. And then perhaps it has some RPG elements. The version of that type of game that I'm much more familiar with is My Life as a King, which is a Square Enix title that was on the Wii Virtual Console, I believe. Pick that up, and I enjoyed that game a great deal. It kind of got laggy, which is another sort of situation with console games where I get pissed off and feel like there's no reason for it to be a console game at that point, if you can't make it work on the console that you're developing for. But we'll leave that for another day. We'll rehash that argument some other time. But I really wish there were more games of that genre. That'd be something I'd really enjoy playing, and it's kind of in a similar vein as Stonehearth, actually, that I definitely play on YouTube. I might actually even go back and do some My Life as a King for YouTube, but that, I think a lot of things have to fall in place for that to happen. It's probably not going to happen. At this point, it would probably have to be emulated, and then at that point, is it now illegal to, because it's one thing, like if you emulate an old game, people are going to be like, who gives a shit, but if you're putting something up on YouTube emulated, I feel like that's inviting lawsuit to some degree, especially if it's monetized, so I'm somewhat hesitant to pursue that, but I'd like to play it. Just really would prefer something on PC, please. If you guys don't mind putting out like a quality game. Please. Never gonna happen. One can dream. Okay, I kind of fucked that up. That was very strange. Let's get some more clay. We're very short, so having more would be nice. Not strictly necessary, but nice. And we're probably going to do another level of mining as well, actually. And I should do this in the other playthrough, right when it turns into stone, which appears to be right here. Shit, okay. Well, if I go below... No, because that'll dig out the roof. It's only 2 levels of stone. That's regrettable. I can dig this out at least. It's not necessary. It's like this is mostly dirt. Yeah, it's still dirt. Alright, well, we're gonna have to dig somewhere else then. Because that's not gonna work out for us. We need to get our stone elsewhere, unfortunately. We'll get there in due time, but right now it's gonna have to wait, unfortunately. How's this going? Not too good, from the look of it. Get all that crap taken. We'll just use this right away. No reason to wait. But yeah, I'd really enjoy kind of a more direct... And I got this a little bit from Rune Factory, but it's not the same kind of game. But this is something I've talked about before, where it's exactly the kind of game that I would want to develop, is actually... Well, Dark Cloud 2 is great. I've heard a lot of great things about it, but let's talk about My Life as a King, because that's what I have first-hand experience with. That's what I can actually directly talk about and compare it to other things, and specifically speak to mechanics, whereas with Dark Cloud 2, I can't really do that. I hope it works the same way, because that would get me a lot closer to picking it up and playing it, even though it's like 15 bucks on the PS4 store, which is regrettable, but I'd consider it if it was like this. So the way My Life as a King worked was you had your town, and you'd build houses for people to live in, and then you'd have things like the Adventurers Guild, blacksmith, item store, like generic stuff, and different things that might create situations where you'd have upgrades for different people, different classes, and you'd have the parents of people would be in there and their children, and if the child was very young, I believe, they would be just a kid. But if they were a little bit older, and they were kind of like the young adult age, I believe, they'd be adventurers. So usually you'd get one adventurer per house, unless it was one of the bigger ones or something, I think, and then you'd have like a parent or whatever. You know, pretty basic stuff. Okay, so this is not correct, but it's not letting me... Okay, so I guess we only dug out the front part there. That was weird. So and then you'd send the adventurers on missions, and you say, hey, we need to go explore this area, go explore, and then they'd have stats, and they'd get their equipment from town, and they'd go do their thing. That was extremely cool. Like, I loved that, where it's kind of like, it's a little bit like an RPG, but you're not really playing the RPG part, you're playing the town management part, and then the people in your town then get sent out to do things, and I really like that. And I think that might be good in a game like this. Even Stonehearth doesn't really work for it, but I think it's a really, really good way to add additional content, basically, and make it a little bit more interesting. Oh shit, that's bad. I'm not happy about this. We lost a lot of resources in that. We're gonna have to go get some more iron. Pain in the ass. I'll have to buy some, probably. We'll figure it out. But I like, because you can have a town management game, but they kind of fall flat after a while. Like, there's not too much to do. Like, I'm even starting to feel a little bit that way with Life is Feudal. Not really. I'm still pretty into it. But there's definitely some feeling... What are you guys doing? You're just hanging out here? There's some feeling of like, alright, well, I've built pretty much every structure I can. I haven't upgraded houses yet. I'm working on that right now. But there's not a lot that I haven't done yet. So the feeling is, okay, well, now what? You know, what do I do next? Whereas if you incorporate some of those kind of RPG elements and you start saying, okay, well, your villagers are actually people that, like, have jobs and stats, and one of the jobs is you can make them adventurers, and if you do that, they're permanently as that, or at least there's a cost associated with taking them off of it, and they get a particular class, and then you build a party out of them, and they have different stats and equipment. You can manage them and do that, the RPG stuff, or you could just let them do it automatically. Both are fine. And then you send them go out to do specific tasks, and depending on their stats, they might succeed or fail. And I think that adds a really good mechanic to a game like this, beyond just basic town management, because I feel like town management hasn't really progressed much. Like, there's nothing really about Stonehearth, I think, that's... I think, like, okay, Stonehearth succeeds, I think, because there's not much out there for this type of game. Really, you're looking at Life is Feudal, which is a bit more serious and a bit more... I don't know, I think Life is Feudal has better mechanics. Or Forest Village, I guess. Life is Feudal is technically an MMO. Or some kind of multiplayer. I don't even know what the hell it is. I didn't look into it. I just play Forest Village. Stonehearth is a little bit simpler and has a little bit less purpose. But it's also, like, more, obviously, style-wise, laid back, cartoony, relaxed, but also in gameplay. Life is Feudal feels like it's more serious. And that's not necessarily a good thing, it's just a thing, if that makes sense. It's not a positive or a negative, it's just that's what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, I feel. Okay, it looks like they're following now, so this is good. Now that there's no reason for them to follow. Lovely. Alright, well, we tried. One day, they'll come over there. I think it's because of the mining. Yeah, they're still mining. Picking everything up. That's good, though. We need that stuff. I think I'll designate some more, actually. So, there isn't much out there for town building mechanics-driven games. It's not really about... It's more like, hey, it's like Minecraft work, so everyone, you want to build a town, right? That's what you're interested in, that's why you're playing this game. Well, not necessarily. It's not, I don't think it's that simple, and I think you can actually kind of fail to make a good game depending on how you do that. I think you can make a much better game by doing some of the stuff that I assume Dark Cloud did, and some of the stuff that My Life as a King did, which is more RPG mechanic-driven stuff where you impact other things by using the RPG mechanics. You know, you unlock new stuff by finding new materials to use in dungeons, and you don't find them, your villagers find them, and their abilities depend on how good you are as a town manager. And I think that is really good. Like, what if you kind of structured it where the adventurers had provisions in line with maybe how you'd send people out in Darkest Dungeon, and then depending on how well you provide provisions for your expedition, then they have a higher chance of success, or they are more likely to get particular things. Like if you fail to send them out with a good assortment of tools for gathering, like pickaxes and things, they're less likely to get, you know, if you don't send them out with pickaxes, they don't get, metal. They don't get metal. That's what I wanted to say. Metals, ores, and things like that. Whereas if you send out a party that's more focused on combat, they're gonna come back with different stuff, like animal products or monster products, like teeth and tusks and pelts and things like that. And depending on what you send them out for, they come back with different things, and then you have different places you can send them to. And you could really structure it however you want. You could make that something that you manage individually when you decide who to send out. You can make that something that the game manages by saying that, you know, this mission that you can choose has them go do this thing, and this one has them do this thing, etc. You know, you pick what they go do, essentially, rather than indirectly picking it by picking their provisioning choices. So there's a lot of different ways to handle it, I think, and I think that adds another layer into a game like this that really helps, and it fleshes out the game a bit more beyond just the basics of town management. And I think that's something that a lot of these games, Stonehearth among them probably, are just kind of missing. Like, you could do a lot better with this kind of addition to those games, I feel. So that's, you know, My Life as a King is one of those games where I think the game itself was not very good. I don't think My Life as a King was a very good game, but I think if, for example, particularly with the Final Fantasy franchise, Square Enix put a little bit more time and effort into that and tried to make that game as like a fully fledged game, Especially, again, I mean, this is, you know, whoop, that was a little strange. A little bit self-serving, but if they made it a PC title, I think they could make a really good game. And I think they could kick Stonehearth ass. I think they could kick Forest Village's ass. And that's a game that I'd like to work on. I think I can make a game like this that would be potentially better. I don't know. I mean, barring any issues with execution, I think it could be. From pure, like, looking at it mechanics-wise, just as a concept, I think it's better. Execution is a different story. I would probably have trouble executing that, because I'm not really that good at programming at this point. I'd like to become better, but right now, the skills are not there. So for me to do that would be difficult at best. So, anyway, it's a fun concept. I think it's a good way to make games like this more popular. And for some reason, no one really does it. And I think there's other mechanics that you could add in there too. I think Forest Village does a decent job with the first-person stuff, but I think it kind of doesn't really work or make sense because you're really mainly looking for... What is that? What did you pick up? Oh, it's a gear. Why does that get dropped? Very strange. Getting invaded. It's on the... yeah, it's on there again. He'll just disappear. Or he'll run around and immediately get killed over there. That's fine. I'm actually going to run up and kill these Verani. Which will probably bite me in the ass if anyone comes from over here, but it looks like we're safe for now, so that's fine. I don't see any camps. They'd have a fire going right about now, so... it should be fine. Go kill the Verani, and then maybe kill this goblin if you don't mind. Ah, shit. Well, whatever. What's he really gonna do? He looks like he's gonna go poof, because where he's running doesn't make any sense. Yep, he went poof. Okay, good. We're gonna designate those, and I don't think we really need to sell anything. I'm gonna pass for now. This is fine. Leave it alone, and let's take a quick look at our crafters. Wow, you're actually done. That's surprising. Sure, whatever. I don't even care. That is almost 100. Yeah, it could be 100 with this. And then make another 50-50 here. And then we can start... ooh, nice. I'm glad we have less jerky than vegetables. Pollo feed, I'd like to make like 60. Move that in there. Daily update. We are extremely close. It's like 30 or 3,000 more. Yeah, getting there. So yeah, hopefully someone will make a game like that. I'd really love for it to be me, but, you know, the time just isn't there. Neither is the expertise. But maybe, you know, things improve in my life. I get some money to rub together, and maybe I can make something happen. Who knows? It's not bloody likely the way things are right now, though. Maybe, one day. Could be a long-term hobby. The nice thing is I feel like a game like that could kind of... it doesn't need to be... let me think about how to phrase this. I think a game like that could stay good for a relatively long period of time, because there isn't much turnover in this genre. Mostly you're looking at a few games being prevalent for a particular period of time, and it doesn't change that rapidly. It's not like with first-person shooters where you've got the big ones that hang around, like, trying to think here. Should be easy. I don't know why I'm having trouble thinking of this. Counter-Strike is up there. I think PlanetSide 2 is not really going to qualify. That one was a little bit flavor of the month. For most people, anyway. Titanfall 2 is a little bit flavor of the month, I feel. Overwatch, yeah, Overwatch is in there. Overwatch is going to be big for a long time, but I don't really consider that to be a traditional FPS. That's a little bit more... I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Like, what demographic is Overwatch? Is it FPS players mainly, or is it MOBA players mainly? You go either way on that one. I think 50-50 maybe. anyone who overlaps on those probably goes for it. But my point is just, it seems like with FPSs, there's like 1 or 2 or 3 different major ones that hang around for a long time, and then the other slots that people play in just kind of rotate. The games like Titanfall that come and go relatively quickly, which is regrettable because Titanfall 2 is really good, but still, people don't hang around with it for too long. But anyway, that is going to have to do it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join us for the next one as well. Take care.